street kid. I'm not a criminal. I'm a kid who was raised to tell the truth. When my mama come in and say, son, what happened? Mama, I didn't do that. I got a paid for a lawyer. I got two lawyers, Carl Mallory and Louis Stearns. Louis Stearns became Judge Stearns, Judge Louis Stearns. But nigga, I had two paid for lawyers.
Let's picked it up.
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor. And the case got dropped by the judge. The case got dropped.
Like I said, if God wants me free, he'll keep me free. If not, I'll go to jail. That's what Boosie Badass, real name Torrance Hatch, told fans when the rumors started flying. You could feel a strange calm in his voice, the kind that comes only when a man has been through this before. The news hit fast and heavy, and suddenly Boosie was standing at a crossroads again, one foot still in the spotlight, the other inches from a prison cell. On August 4th, Boosie broke the silence himself. He went on X, Twitter, and told his followers, I have accepted a plea deal from the federal government regarding my gun case. God doesn't make mistakes, and I'm tired of fighting. Those words hit hard. You could feel the exhaustion behind them. For over a year, Boosie's life had turned into a constant battle between freedom and the system. What started as a regular day in San Diego turned into a long nightmare, one involving two guns, a police helicopter, and a social media post that changed everything. The guns, a black Glock 19 and a black and purple Hellcat, weren't just weapons, they became the center of the government's case. Prosecutors claimed they had crossed state lines, which instantly turned a local charge into a federal crime. On paper, Boosie was facing up to 15 years behind bars. But the prosecutors recommended something lighter, 2 years in prison followed by 3 years of supervised release. To most people, that would sound terrifying. But for someone like Boosie, who's been through it all, 2 years might have seemed like something he could handle. Still, time means money. And for an artist, every lost month cuts into tours, music, and family. His career was hanging in the balance, and no one, not even Boosie, could predict what the judge would decide. During interviews, Boosie tried to sound hopeful. Maybe I'll just get probation, he said. It's up to the judge to give me credit for the time I spent on the ankle monitor. But deep down, everyone knew this was more than a simple case. This was a battle between a man and a system that had been chasing him for years. The whole thing started in June 2023, when Boosie was in San Diego filming a music video. The neighborhood was calm, but his shoot brought lights, cars, and energy. The usual chaos that comes with hip-hop fame. What he didn't know was that police were already watching him from above. A helicopter had been following his car as he left the shoot. The reason? Hours earlier, Boosie had posted on Instagram, flashing a gun tucked into his waistband. That one post gave police everything they needed. Since Boosie is a convicted felon, even holding a gun can get him locked up again. When they stopped him, it wasn't random. It was planned. They found the two guns in his car, both reportedly flown in from Atlanta by someone close to him. To prosecutors, that detail was gold. A firearm that crossed state lines turned the case into a federal offense, something nearly impossible to beat. At first, Boosie celebrated a small victory when the California state case was dismissed in 2024. He went online and bragged, 90% of people thought I was going to prison, but God had a different plan. But that celebration didn't last long. Just weeks later, federal agents picked up the same evidence and filed new charges in a federal court. It was the same case, but now with higher stakes. The game had restarted, and Boosie was back in the ring, facing tougher odds. As news of his plea deal spread, social media exploded. Some fans prayed for him, others mocked him. And then came Charleston White, the man who seems to live for other people's drama. But before that chaos, Boosie kept pretending life was normal. On Instagram, he promised fans that nothing had changed. I'm still doing shows, still doing my pool party, still getting to the money, he said. He insisted his sentencing wouldn't happen for a few months, so he planned to be at every.
I ain't really got no opinion on him, because, my opinion can send me to prison. So
So I ain't really, you know, I ain't really got no opinion on them. You know, once you go to threaten people's kids, talking about you gotta lie. So you know, I ain't gonna do all that. I ain't gonna do all that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, hey, you know, certain people you can't really express opinions on, and he one of those. You can't express how you feel because you might end up in prison. And I ain't getting tricked out this shit.
Waiting for the FBI to send me the right kind of number, because I'm finna make a report on your mother and people. And you make the man call your name specifically. The promoter specifically said your mother ain't Lil Boosie. He implemented you and implicated you. Finna go to jail, back to jail. You gonna be on your knees.
Outside the gates, ready to turn the next chapter of his life into another viral moment. Because in this new world of fame, the fight doesn't end in court. It ends online. And Charleston White? He's made sure Boosie will never truly escape the noise. So, as the countdown to sentencing continues, the question isn't just how long will Boosie serve, it's can he ever find peace again in a world that profits from his pain? The cameras are still rolling. The internet is still watching. And in this story, the verdict isn't up to the judge, it's up to the crowd. There was no real proof Charleston had anything to do with the arrest. It was probably just a coincidence, but that didn't matter. What mattered was how he made it look. He claimed the power, the credit, and the internet ran with it. That's Charleston's talent. He knows how to turn coincidence into content. Facts don't matter when views are on the line. He played the villain perfectly, painting himself as the man who could destroy Boosie's family with a few phone calls and a Wi-Fi signal. Meanwhile, Boosie kept his silence. Maybe he was trying to keep calm before sentencing, or maybe he'd just run out of energy to fight. But Charleston wasn't done. He turned the feud into a full-time job. Every few days, he'd post a new video mocking Boosie's situation, his son's arrest, even his faith. He called Boosie a fake gangster, a bad father, and a hypocrite. And every time he did, his follower count went up. Charleston understood how the internet worked. Outrage is money, and humiliation is fuel. Every feud meant more views, more headlines, more relevance. And it wasn't just Boosie. Charleston had been doing this for years, turning other people's pain into entertainment. He'd recently gone viral for a chaotic interview with Orlando Brown, where he shouted old secrets and turned the whole thing into a circus. Even Soulja Boy wasn't safe. Charleston had trolled him, too, before suddenly shaking his hand on a live stream just to confuse everyone watching. For him, every viral moment was another win. For his targets, it was humiliation. As Boosie's sentencing date got closer, something inside him seemed to shift. Maybe it was age, maybe fear, or maybe just exhaustion. For the first time in a long time, Boosie started talking about peace. He began publicly making amends with people he had feuded with for years. Old beefs, with Fredo Bang, NBA Youngboy, and even Kevin Gates, were suddenly squashed. To fans, this was shocking. These were rivalries that had defined. Just when people thought things couldn't get any messier, Charleston White stepped in and turned Boosie's legal fight into his personal show. Charleston isn't just another internet troll, he's a one-man storm. Loud, unpredictable, and always ready to stir the pot. The moment Boosie's plea deal made headlines, Charleston went live, grinning like he had been waiting for this day his whole life. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail. Charleston laughed, his voice echoing through the stream. To him, Boosie's troubles weren't sad, they were entertainment. He even joked that he'd celebrate the day Boosie got locked up, promising to stay live all day long just to rub it in. But then, Charleston crossed the line again. He didn't stop at mocking Boosie. He went after Boosie's kids and family, saying things that made even his own fans uncomfortable. He claimed he hoped Boosie wouldn't make it out of prison at all. That's when people realized this was no longer about music or rivalry. It had turned into something darker, a personal vendetta. Boosie, usually quick to clap back, fell quiet. For once, he looked more tired than angry. It's one thing to be attacked for your music.
You done got too much. You done let these niggas play you too mother. This internet book dumb and it. Say what little Tootie gonna do now? Well, look to the state. Listen, Vlad TV. Vlad post everybody going to jail but Boosie. Somebody tag Vlad TV.
Brought you up because you were attacking Kanye because of the.
Nah, it's Kanye West. It just happened. Nigga been coming at me. He been coming at me. It's just, you know, I can't respond to those people, bro. Like, that's a danger to what I got going on. Can't take no risk or lose.
But when someone drags your children into it, that cuts deeper. And then, as if things couldn't get worse, Charleston took credit for something shocking. In September 2025, Boosie's 22-year-old son, Tootie Raw, was arrested in Atlanta. The charges? Possession of a sawed-off shotgun and obstruction of law enforcement. The mugshot spread online in minutes, and before the family could even react, Charleston went live again, laughing and bragging. "I just put Boosie's son in jail," he announced proudly. 2 hours after I landed in Atlanta, and look what happened. When the news of Boosie's plea broke, Charleston went live immediately. He laughed, mocked, and told viewers that Boosie was finally getting what he deserved. To him, it wasn't justice, it was comedy. He even said, "I can't wait till Boosie goes to jail. I'm going live all day when he does." Charleston had no filter. He talked about Boosie's family, his kids, even his baby mama, crossing every line possible just to get views. To him, every feud was a business opportunity. For Boosie, this wasn't just about a court case anymore. It had become a public war between two men who thrived on attention, but for very different reasons. Boosie wanted love and loyalty. Charleston wanted chaos and clicks. Each time Boosie tried to focus on his music or his family, Charleston found a way to drag him back into the spotlight. The internet was eating it up. To many fans, this wasn't a tragedy, it was a live show. But for Boosie, this was real life. Every post, every live stream, every headline came with consequences. The more Charleston mocked him, the more the world questioned Boosie's legacy. Was he still the real one he claimed to be, or just another celebrity caught up in endless drama? By the end of the summer, it was clear that Boosie's fight wasn't just with the federal government. It was with public opinion, with enemies online, and even with his own past. He had said, "If God wants me free, he'll keep me free." But now, even he wasn't sure what freedom meant anymore, because sometimes the walls closing and aren't made of steel. They're made of judgment, cameras, and the world waiting to see you fall. By the time November arrived, Baton Rouge felt heavy with tension. Boosie's court date was closing in, and every whisper online turned into a headline. The man once known for being untouchable, for surviving everything the streets threw at him, now looked like someone carrying the weight of every mistake he'd ever made. His smile wasn't as sharp. His voice didn't carry the same energy. Behind those sunglasses, there was fear, the kind that fame can't hide. Meanwhile, Charleston White was louder than ever. Every day, he went live, ranting, laughing, boasting. He called himself the truth of the internet, the man who wasn't scared to expose anybody. But the truth was simpler. Charleston had turned pain into a paycheck. Every moment Boosie tried to move past, Charleston dragged back into the light. Every apology Boosie made, Charleston twisted into mockery. And people watched, millions of them. Some out of hate, others out of curiosity. But no matter the reason, Charleston knew one thing for sure. As long as they watched, he was winning. When Tootie Raw's case was mentioned again, Charleston claimed credit once more. Boosie's legacy falling apart right in front of him, he said with a grin. He called it karma. He called it justice. But to Boosie's supporters, it was cruelty, a man feeding off another man's downfall. Inside the courtroom, though, it was quiet. No live streams, no laughter, just the reality of what comes after years of chaos. Boosie stood before Judge Kathy and Benabino as the prosecutor read out his record. The room was tense. Every word felt like a countdown. And while the world outside was gossiping, Boosie's mind seemed somewhere else entirely. For once, it wasn't about money, fame, or pride. It was about time, the one thing he couldn't control anymore. He looked back on his life, the success, the street fights, the music that made him a legend, and maybe, deep down, he knew that everything had led him here. When the judge finally